Hey guys, Matt Kentucky Range Time, and back with another video from the reloading bench. And today I want to talk a little bit about how I maintain my reloading dies. I've been reloading now for about 18 years, I guess, and I've got dies that have got thousands and thousands of rounds loaded on them. I started out on a Lee single stage press for probably the first 7 or 8 years. And then the wife finally upgraded me to a Dillon XL650 just so that I could get reloaded and back in, spend time with her a little faster. And I do appreciate that. And I fear it's led into a rabbit hole of other things that consume my time. But so initially I was doing a lot of stuff on a single stage press, and a lot of rifle dies. I was using different lubes. I've tried a little bit of everything over the years, and oftentimes it was bulk work. It wasn't precision work, so I would lube them up and I would run them through, and by the time I'd get done, I'd have excess lube literally all over the die, and then that would collect dust and dirt, and it was just a continual process of having to clean those. And the process I used to use was my favorite process before was I would take Croil, Aerocroil, and this would cut through most of the lubricants. I'd put this in a small metal pan and let that stuff soak real good, and then I would take an air hose and blow all that excess cleaner and everything out of those, and then take off again with them. But last night I was in here playing with this new ultrasonic cleaner I've got, and I was really focusing on cleaning my suppressor and the suppressor parts. But while I had it warmed up and a vat of cleaner and everything in it, although it had got quite dirty before I got the suppressor clean, I grabbed a couple of my dirtier reloading dies and I threw them in there just to see how it would do. And I wish now I had saved those for the video, because they were actually pretty nasty, and they were a lot dirtier than anything that I've got to show on the video today. What I cleaned last night was quite a bit dirtier than what I've got to go through here today. Now you can see, there's some oils and some dirt and some debris, a little bit of lead, just a mixed hodgepodge of dust, dirt, tumbling media, corn cob and walnut shell and stuff that gets carried around into these dies and into these shell holders while you're working on them. And but so I've gone through all my dies, and like I said, the ones I cleaned last night were the worst ones, and I wish I'd saved them for today, because the before and after was pretty significant on those, and probably a greater change than anything you're going to see today. But I've got pictures of all these, so I want to get some close-ups on some of these, and then we'll come back and look at these items when we get done. There's lots of little ridges and rolls and everything else in these dies, and everything else. One thing that I did last night that really drove me starting this was my 300 Blackout FCD. This thing had froze into place. The collet here that moves up and down, it had frozen in place, and I actually ended up running several 300 Blackout cases. You can see those because it wasn't releasing, so the case never could slide up in there. So as soon as it was hitting the bottom of the collet, it was literally just compressing those down below the neck. So I took that out initially and threw it in the ultrasonic cleaner to clean it, and got it out and put just a little bit of lubricant up in there, and got it freed back up and got it working good. So that's something that you definitely need to do. Here's the collet into 308, and this thing doesn't have a lot of movement to it. Should be able to shake these. You hear that collet moving back and forth pretty freely. So anyway, I'm going to run these through. I've gone through everything. These like I said, these are the worst ones. Now The aluminum parts with the O-rings, I've taken those off of these for the ones that I'm using. I'm not sure what the cleaner will do to the aluminum. I might try one of them just as a sample here on one of these runs to see, but these do have a little bit of lubricant on the threads, so I really didn't want to mess with that. I do have some of that lubricant to put back on them, so it wouldn't be a big deal. So anyway, we'll run these through and come back and take a quick look and see what they look like on the before and after. Now, I will say that some of these older dies, I picked up 10 or 15 die sets over the last couple of years from estate sales. Some of them were brand spanking new. Some of them had been pretty well used, and honestly, I really hadn't looked real close at all of them if it wasn't a caliber that I was reloading. So, but I have gone through those. So, all right, so let's take a quick look here. So this is the ultrasonic cleaner I'll be using. It has a temperature control over here. It is in Celsius, so 50 degrees Celsius is where I have it set now. That's equivalent to like 120 degrees Fahrenheit. You have a timer here that's adjustable from 1 to 30 minutes. And right now I have the heater running. Yep. I broke it. Okay. Apparently the heater won't come on as long as it's at temperature. Or maybe it just cycles off and on. Anyway, yeah, it appears to be what it's doing. And then like I said, and you can roll right around through 30 and come right back to 1. So that's the ultrasonic cleaner. This is the cleaner that I'm actually using. It's from Northwest Gun Parts Cleaner. It says cleans all gun parts, safe for all firearms, finishes, quickly removes carbon, dirt, grease, and powder residue. I will say after running this last night with my suppressor, which I'm sure that's an extreme test for this, the main body of the suppressor never completely cleaned up from all the carbon deposits in it, but all the other accessories and the extension for that hybrid 46M did clean up quite well. I did 2 15-minute cycles and then 2 or 3 30-minute cycles on the main suppressor body after that. So the ratio is 5 parts distilled water to 1 part cleaner. It's a recommended ratio. And then what I'm doing when these come out of here is I'm bringing them over here. I'm doing a hot water rinse, and then I'm putting them in this basket. This is my this is the old furnace. We did an upgrade here several years ago, and I have this set up just running as electric strip heat. So it works very, very well as a parts dryer and brass dryer. So once I get something washed, I just put it in a wire mesh basket like this, set it on top, crank it on, or I'll just leave it set overnight. And as it cycles off and on, it eventually will dry that out very well and get all the water out, remove, keep any rust or anything from happening to it. So, all right, let's get started. I'll be back with results in a bit. All right, parts are loaded. And here we go. Back in 30 minutes or less. All right, I'm getting ready to clean the first batch out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and in the second batch I'm going to try one of these aluminum pieces. I've got 2 of these here. They're pretty much identical. I got the lube and everything on them, a little O-ring, and I'm going to run one of these through the cycle and then bring it back after we get done and do a comparison to see if it affected the finish or anything on it. All right, guys, so here's the parts out of the ultrasonic cleaner. It's pretty obvious right off the bat that these have cleaned up pretty well. This die here had quite a bit of rust in the knurling. It looks like most of that has come out, and still got a lot of liquids down in here. I'll get these over here and get them rinsed and get them dried off. set them back over there. All right, guys. So second batch is done. So get this back in this. All right. Okay, so these came out at about 120 degrees, so they're actually drying while I'm looking at them right here. This is no pre-cleaning. This is straight out of my dye boxes. So let me get these rinsed and get them on the heater, and we'll get the next, I think maybe the last batch in, and I'm laying them back out basically where they came from over there, and then we'll go right back in video. That way we've got pretty much the same stuff in the same places, so we can compare the two. All right, guys, I got the last batch of these out, and they're on the furnace here to dry. And once again, I mean, these things look just, other than some light rust, like on this one right here that won't come off, these are coming out pretty well spotless. Anything else that's in there, lubricants, anything else that was in there is pretty well cleaned off. So we'll get these dried here for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'll get them over there and we'll get some pictures. Here we go. All right, guys, so here we go. This is, everything's already been through 25 to 30 minutes on the ultrasonic cleaning machine. You see some of this really light surface rust on these. Has not come off. There's a little bit more on the top of that one, but everything else, especially up around the neck of the base of the dies, has pretty well come clean. And the shell holders in pretty good shape too. So I will say this, on these where this light surface rust is, I'll probably take a little bit of really light lubrication oil, probably some rim oil, and put on those spots. Nothing thick enough it's going to build up anything. And then in these crimp dies, I'll take a little bit of oil and let it ride down inside of here. Let's see if I can get the phone set up here. Okay, so I got a couple of these factory crimp dies, and you can see now that they've been cleaned. It's pretty much metal on metal. Other than that, they're not in too bad a shape, so I'm just going to do a really light. This can's about empty. Makes it hard to get just a little bit out of it. Couple of shots in there. Let that spread around. So you do want that lubricated just enough. It's not going to get stuck like my 300 blackout dye did earlier. A lot of that squeaking's coming from the top of that. You can see that's moving pretty freely now. And so is the 308. Okay. So you can run a lot of brass and cause a lot of problems when those get bound up. So all in all, cleaning with this ultrasonic cleaner is pretty slick. One, I didn't have to take off my my die holder here. I didn't have to mess with any of my adjustments on any of my dies. I put them in just like they were. You know, these are set up to crimp on 308 that's trimmed to length. Same thing here. This is the bullet seating die, and you know, here's the adapter. That floats inside the seating depth adjuster here. So, you know, I had several of these apart. Here's the one for 9mm. It actually drops in. And then how about those that adjustment? So this is the one that went through the cleaner, and here's one that didn't. So you can see that it got that thing pretty well spotless. No ill effects to the aluminum at all. I do have some no locks. It's an anti-seize for when you've got aluminum. It's real bad to gall up, so I'll put a drop of that on there before I put this back in the die. The cleaner did clean that off. So, but other than that, it worked really well. So, you know, you can break these apart. The things that are easy, the things that aren't, you don't have to worry about. So, you know, you can get all this stuff cleaned up pretty well and not have to mess up any of your adjustments. And that's the important part. So, over here on these dies, there was some rust on this one, and it's pretty well, most of it's cleaned up and gone. There was some, looked like some lube or something on the bottom of this die. That cleaned up pretty well. You can see just a little discoloration there, but the bulk of that's actually gone now. So, all in all, guys, that's pretty much how I maintain these. I mean, this is easier than what I've been doing. So, ultrasonic cleaner to the rescue. This cut the time in half. Actually, while these were in the cleaner, I was running 220 grain 300 blackout on the Dillon, and I got 100 rounds here and another 75 plus, so I did about 200 rounds in the 3 cycles, an hour and a half, in top of changing everything else out. And so, you know, you set this up and you let it go, and you do other stuff while it's running. Okay, so here we go with the before and after pictures. Try to get these matched back up as best as I could. All right, guys, I'm going to get straightened up here and get all this stuff put back together and get my bench back together over here behind me and move on to some other projects I've got waiting. And so anyway, thanks for watching Matt Kentucky Range Time. If you've got any questions or comments, or you've got another way that you use to clean, maintain your dies, I'd be glad to hear that. Always looking for new and easier ways of doing things. So just reach out in the comments, and as always, appreciate you watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.